The greatest war you will ever fight does not rage on battlefields or in boardrooms. It crackles in the static between your ears, a tempest of notifications, opinions, and endless scrolls screaming for your attention. This is the age of noise, where humanity drowns in information yet starves for wisdom. But 100 years ago, a patent clerk in Switzerland rewrote the rules of reality with a single truth. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only redirected. What if I told you that your mind operates by the same law? That every distraction you tolerate, every triviality you consume, is not just stealing your time, it is cannibalizing your potential at the atomic level. Close your eyes, imagine your mind as a radio tower. Most people spend their lives frantically tuning to every frequency news cycles, gossip, the curated lies of social media, until their signal drowns in the chaos. But Einstein, he built an iron vault around his attention. While others debated politics at Berlin cafes, he was rewriting the laws of physics in solitude. While the world obsessed over stock markets, he asked, what if light could bend? And in that sacred silence, Seth, at self-imposed mental famine, heard the universe whisper its secrets. Let me show you the corpse of modern ambition. It lies in the graveyard of comfortable distraction. Man who checks his phone 47 times a day, yet hasn't read a book in 47 months. The entrepreneur who consumes hustle porn podcasts while her business decays from indecision. The student who memorizes TikTok trends but cannot sit alone with his thoughts for 60 seconds. This is not living, this is cognitive obesity, gorging on mental junk food while your soul withers. There's a reason lions don't feast on crumbs. In 1903, a failed gold prospector named Napoleon Hill received a challenge from Andrew Carnegie: interview 500 millionaires to crack the code of success. For 20 years, Hill said no to everything else: jobs, stability, even his family's approval. He nearly went insane. But in that desert of deprivation, he mined the golds that became Think and Grow Rich, the book that birthed empires. This is the paradox. True abundance begins with ruthless scarcity. The billionaire doesn't check emails first thing. She guards her morning mind like Fort Knox. The Olympian doesn't debate diets on Twitter. He eats the same meal daily to conserve decision fuel. You think Edison invented the light bulb by committee? He tested 6 zeros, zero filaments alone in Menlo Park, while critics called him a fool. Fools talk, builders build. Let's get uncomfortably honest. Your addiction to noise isn't accidental, it's anesthetic. A numbing agent against the terrifying responsibility of your own potential. Because if you silence the noise, you'll have to face the voice that whispers. You were made for more. You'll have to confront the gap between who you are and who Einstein, who your soul knows you could become. Andrew Carnegie knew this. At 12 years old, he worked 12 days in a Pittsburgh cotton mill. But every night, while others drank or slept, he devoured books borrowed from a local philanthropist. No committees, no mastermind groups, just a boy, a kerosene lamp, and the ruthless elimination of everything that didn't build his future. By 33, steel tycoon. By 66, the richest man on earth. His formula wasn't complex: starve the distractions. Feed the obsession. Here's the truth they are too afraid to tell you. Genius isn't born, it's defended. When Einstein was crafting his theory of relativity, he wore the same gray suit for weeks to avoid trivial choices. He banned newspapers from his home, calling them mental poison. He even ignored letters from his own son until his work was complete. This wasn't eccentricity, it was warfare, a merciless prioritization of the signal over the noise. You want wealth. Real wealth, kind that outlives markets and monuments. Then study the patterns. Steve Jobs' black turtlenecks. Marie Curie's refusal to patent radium. Beethoven's 4 a.m. composing rituals while going deaf. They all understood. Clarity comes from subtraction. Every yes to distraction is a no to destiny. So I challenge Yao, cut the cable, delete the apps, let your phone battery die and leave it corpse, gold for a week. The world will keep spinning, but you'll start hearing whispers your distracted peers are too deaf to note. This. But here's the alchemy. Inside that void, miracles brew. When J.K. Rowling wrote Harry Potter in Edinburgh Cafes, she was a divorced mother on welfare. No laptop, just pen, paper, and a screaming hunger to create. No Wi-Fi, no podcasts, just the deafening roar of a woman betting everything on her mind's unproven magic. What followed? A $25 billion empire birthed from scarcity. So I dare Yauno, I double. Dare you to let the world call you crazy. To wear the same clothes daily, to work in a room with no internet, to miss out on trends, memes, and debates that'll be irrelevant in 72 hours. Let them laugh, let them call you obsessed. While they are chasing dopamine hits, y'all be doing something radical, living. Because true wealth isn't stocks or real estate, it's the unshakable focus to bend reality. The courage to say, this matters more than comfort. The defiance to build your legacy in the quiet, away from the circus of the crowd. Einstein didn't just discover relativity, it proved that time is elastic. That a single disciplined ior can stretch into eternity. Your mind is the same. Protect it like the sacred forge it is, and watch as the universe surrenders its treasures to your hunger. Now go, the silence is waiting. Silence is not emptiness. It is the anvil where destiny is hammered into being. Every revolution begins in the quiet. The steam engine that birthed the industrial age, forged in James Watt's obsessions during midnight walks through Glasgow. The electric light that banished darkness, Edison's 10 zeros, zero experiments conducted in monastic isolation. Even Lincoln drafted the Emancipation Proclamation in the dead of night, his cabinet asleep, his critics silenced, his pen scraping against parchment like a shovel unearthing freedom. You think mastery is about action? Wrong. Mastery is about inaction, the brutal excision of everything that is the one thing. The sculptor doesn't create by adding clay. He carves away until the masterpiece emerges. So why do you worship the grind without honoring the chisel? Let me show you the secret rhythm of giants. Henry Ford didn't revolutionize manufacturing by chasing innovations. He did it by stripping movement to its essence. On his assembly lines, workers repeated 3 task screw, weld, tighten, until their hands moved with the precision of atomic clocks. Boring, maybe, but from that monotony erupted the Model T, a machine so efficient it democratized the open road. Steve Jobs knew this. When designing the iPhone, he banned focus groups. People don't know what they want until you show them, he growled. His team worked in a locked wing of Apple Park, walls bare, desks cleared of clutter, no committees. No compromises, just a cult-like focus on creating a device so intuitive it would become an extension of the human nervous system. The result, $2, 4 trillion empire built on one mantra, real artist ship, you've been lied to about wealth. It's not addition, it's compounding. Einstein called it the 8th wonder of the world. Rockefeller proved it. At 16, he started tracking every penny in a ledger he named Ledger A, not dollar cents. While others splurged on whiskey and brothels, he reinvested 25% of his $16 monthly salary into himself. Book's course is a better suit to impress clients. By 25, he owned Cleveland's largest oil refinery. By 50, he controlled 90% of global oil. His secret, interest on interest applied to the mind first, money second. Your brain is a wealth factory. But you've mortgaged it to Netflix and Instagram reels. Reclaim it. Every minute you spend studying market trends while ignoring mental trash is a down payment on mediocrity. The math is merciless. 1% daily growth makes you 37x better in a year, but 1% daily distraction reduces you to rubble. Survival favors the stubborn. In the Amazon, bullet ants carry leaves 50 times their weight. In Japan, koi fish swim upstream for decades to become dragons. And in a Detroit garage, a half-deaf mechanic named Soichiro Honda sold his wife's jewelry to fund piston rings, which Toyota rejected. So he built motorcycles, then cars, then an empire chanting the power of dreams. Resilience isn't motivational poster crap, it's biological. When a muscle tears, it rebuilds thicker. When a forest burns, the soil becomes fertile. Your failures aren't tombstones, they are compost. Beethoven composed his 9th Symphony deaf. Milton wrote Paradise Lost blind. And y'all build your legacy with the scars critics called proof you couldn't win. I won't lie to you, Thai's path is glacial. There will be winters where progress freezes, nights where your doubts scream louder than your dreams. But in those raw, silent iors, something awakens, a primal clarity. The same clarity that told Lincoln to fire McClellan, told Jobs to bet on touchscreens, told Malala to pick up a pen instead of a weapon. Turn the world off, let your hunger howl. Become so obsessed with your vision that reality has no choice but to bend. Einstein's genius was, and his I-kit was his refusal to let society define possible. While others saw a clockwork universe, he saw a dance of energy. While others saw poverty, Carnegie saw libraries. While others see you, let them wonder, let them gossip. Let them call you mad while you're busy building cathedrals in the quiet. The noise will beg you to return. Don't, the greatest lives are lived in italics, not bold. No move, the universe is counting on your silence. Gratitude is not weakness, it is the scalpel that cuts through entitlement. The wealthiest minds in history weaponized thankfulness as fuel. When Rockefeller faced the 1873 financial panic, he didn't hoard his oil empire's profits. He doubled workers' wages and donated to churches, knowing scarcity breeds fear, but gratitude breeds abundance. When Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first TV job, she wrote thank you notes to her detractors. They taught me what not to become, she'd later say. You think gratitude is about counting blessings? No, it's about leverage. Every thank you is a declaration, I have enough to share. Every acknowledgement of progress, no matter how small, rewires your brain to spot opportunity, not obstacles. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius penned his meditations not in palaces, but on battlefields, scribbling gratitude for his enemies between blood-stained pages. Why? Because hatred clouds vision, gratitude sharpens it. Adapt or fossilize, there is no third option. Darwin didn't say the strongest survive, he said the most adaptable do. When Disney's first animation studio went bankrupt, he boarded a train to Hollywood with $40 and a suitcase full of sketches. No nostalgia, no tantrums, just a mouse named Mickey and a mind fluid enough to trade pencil drawings for technicolor dreams. Your fears, they are relics. Your excuses, extinct. The digital age doesn't care about your original plan. Kodak invented the digital camera, then buried it to protect film. Blockbuster laughed at Netflix DVD by mail proposal. Meanwhile, Bezos sold books from a garage, while Barnes and Noble scoffed. The lesson, attachment to how things are, is the arsenic of greatness. Asterisk asterisk, burn the map. Follow the compass, let's autopsy failure. Thomas Watson SR built IBM into a colossus, not despite his 1914 bankruptcy, but because of it. To double your success rate, Hedbach, double your failure rate. J. P. Morgan lost his fortune twice before dominating Wall Street. Sarah Blakely sold fax machines dotted Gore for 7 years before cutting the feet off her pantyhose and birthing Spanx. Your scars are not Shamathier curriculum vitae. Da Vinci filled 7 zeros, 0 pages with failed inventions, flying machines, hydraulic pumps, robotic knights. Centuries later, engineers used those mistakes to build helicopters and AI. Every dead end is a detour to something you couldn't yet imagine. So collect rejections like Picasso collected paint. Let them clot, then crack open the masterpiece beneath. Time is not money, it's blood. Warren Buffett spends 80% of his day reading. Bill Gates takes think weeks in a forest cabin with stacks of books and zero Wi-Fi. Elon Musk splits his day into 5-minute blocks. These errant productivity hacks fear blood transfusions for the mind. You've been tricked into trading minutes for pennies. The average person spends 11 years of their life on social media. 11 years. Imagine injecting that time into learning Mandarin, mastering quantum physics, or building a patent. The 21st century's rarest currency isn't crypto, it's undistracted focus. When Tim Ferriss wrote *4I for work week, he didn't crowdsource advice. He disappeared to Buenos Aires for 12 weeks, emerging with a manifesto that shattered the cult of busyness. History doesn't remember the crowd. Notre Dame took 200 years to build. The workers who laid its first stones never saw the spire. Yet they carved each gargoyle with divine precision, knowing their names would fade, but their craft would outlive empires. That's legacy. You are not here to trend, you're here to transcend. Tolkien wrote Lord of the Rings in air-raid shelters during the Blitz, bombs shaking his desk. Marie Curie kept vials of radium by her bed, glowing like ghostly lullabies, as she died from the very radiation that won her 2 Nobels. They didn't hustle, they built brick by brick, page by page, experiment by experiment. The noise will try to sell you shortcuts. Resist, wealth isn't gravid, it's grown. Like a redwood, silent and stubborn, rings thickening decade after decade. No applause, no headlines, just roots digging deeper as storms rage. So let me ask you when your eulogy is read, will it chronicle clicks or courage? Likes or love, hot takes or heat, forged legacy. The noise will try to sell you shortcuts. Resist. Wealth isn't gravid, it's grown. Like a redwood, silent and stubborn, rings thickening decade after decade. No applause, no headlines, just roots digging deeper as storms rage. So let me ask you when your eulogy is read, will it chronicle clicks or courage? Likes or love, hot takes or heat, forged legacy. Einstein's equations outlived the Nazis who burned his books. Mandela's forgiveness outshone the prison that caged him. Your mind, too, is an immortal force, but only if you starve the noise to feed the signal. The world is loud because it's terrified of your silence. Terrified of what you'll hear in the quiet, the rumble of your untapped power, the drumbeat of a heart that refuses to settle, the voice that howls more. Now, go mute the circus, unplug the chaos, let the mental famine begin, and when the dust of distraction settles, build. Greatness is a transaction you pay in comfort. Isaac Newton discovered calculus while Cambridge closed during the plague. No labs, no colleagues, just a 23-year-old hermit scribbling equations by candlelight as the world outside unraveled. No parties, no promotions, just the cold calculus of a mind married to the stars. Tesla slept 2 hours a night, convinced celibacy would heighten his creative voltage. He died penniless, yes, but his alternating current electrifies every screen you stare into. Sacrifice isn't losses. You trade the trivial for the transcendent, the temporary for the timeless. Revolution hides in the mundane. Edison's 6-0 failed filaments went failure as they were 6-0 answers shouted into the dark. Each no edged him closer to the tungsten yes that would ignite the world. James Clear was right. Atomic habits compound, but atomic requires annihilation of distraction, of doubt, of the lie that someday exists. The Roman aqueducts didn't gush on day one. Drop by drop, they conquered drought. Your life is no different. Write 1 page daily, and in a year, you'll have a novel. Save $10 a day, and in a decade, you'll wield $36,500 plus interest enough to seed an empire. The billionaire, the Olympian, the icon, they all kneel to the god of dailiness. Multitasking is a myth sold to the mediocre. Da Vinci spent 16 years painting the Mona Lisa's lips. 16 years, not because he was slow, but because he knew mastery lives in the margins. The average person toggles between 35 apps daily, fragmenting focus into confetti, but the greats, they weaponized tunnel vision. Elon Musk split Tesla and SpaceX into his 5-minute blocks, yet built both by diving into what he calls the pain tunnel weeks, where he coded factories and rockets in 100 or sprints. You think you're busy, you're scattered. True wealth blooms in the soil of obsession. Silence terrifies the untrained mind. Blaise Pascal wrote, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." Centuries later, dopamine addicts scroll to avoid the mirror of their potential. But here's the secret. Inside the void, you meet your double version of you who did the work, who faced the silence, who claimed the throne. Walt Disney faced bankruptcy, betrayal, and a nervous breakdown. So he built the snail, and, not in boardrooms, but in his mind's eye, pacing his smoke, filled office at 3 a.m., muttering, "I'm not selling rides." "I'm selling wonder." He didn't fear the void, he colonized it. Legacy is not a noun, it's a verb. Shakespeare wrote 37 plays in 24 years. Not one original plot, just a butcher's son who weaponized language so fiercely, his words outlived empires. Van Gogh sold 1 painting in his lifetime, 1, yet he painted 900 more, howling at the void until the void howled back in sunflowers and starry nights. You think your work is for now? Wrong. It's for the archaeologists of 3023, dusting off the relics of your courage. The Wright brothers' first flight lasted 12 seconds, but those seconds rippled into moon landings and Mars rovers. Time is not running out, it's waiting to be seized. The Io-glass doesn't ask if you're ready, it pours. Every grain a choice, distraction or destiny, the storm of now rages, but you are the calm, the architect. The monk, the madman, Einstein's tombstone bears no equations, just his name and dates, because his true monument. The GPS in your phone, born from relativity's math. The nuclear medicine saving lives, born from E=mc. He traded noise for immortality, so ask yourself, when your name is etched in stone, what equations will you leave behind? What cathedrals will hum with your hunger? The void is calling, not to frighten you to free you, now. Go bend light.